IVM.
कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen yaar, don't be so conservative. Yes, time to meet somebody special on a show called Cyrus Says. Special to me at least. But before we do that, a quick rant about my new, possession. This is I don't know what, a Nordic 1 or 2 or 6 or I don't know what it is. But it's a new phone with doggies at the back. And I've just got used to it. Yesterday I saw my first feature film on a phone. Or telephone or mobile phone. My God, I'm that old. It was a lovely experience, beautiful for me, especially because generally erotic films aren't that long, but this was 55 minutes and I could actually see the female figure for what it was. I've been just hoping that it's a female figure while watching on the old phone. With my eyesight, I couldn't quite tell. Not that there's anything wrong with male figures and liking male figures, to each their own. This is not a forum for that discussion. But before that, let's go into a break.
बेटा, did you know 79% of all scientists in NASA are Indian only?
देखो, इंडिया में टैक्स सिर्फ मिडिल क्लास भरती है. Everyone is just enjoying free यार.
आजकल के youngsters are only interested in partying and enjoying. उनको देश की पड़ी ही नहीं है.
बेटा, तुम बस शादी कर लो, उसके बाद तो you can enjoy life like anything.
I will tell you what this country needs. This country needs 15 years of dictatorship. That is the only way to become a superpower. See the Chinese, how much they've progressed.
सुनो, तुमने ये WhatsApp forward देखा?
So what's common between all of these statements?
They're all absolutely rubbish.
Fake WhatsApp forwards that spread like wildfire.
And statements that defy any logic.
They are here to debunk them all.
Way of family WhatsApp groups, worst nightmare. Where what happens when you read a book.
Basically, we're just a bunch of guys who want to cut through the bullshit of everyone saying this, how it won't be true.
So that the next time someone confidently squeezes out some WhatsApp or Twitter BS, you will look them dead in the eye and go, Uncle, please sit.
So join me, Joel.
And me, Tushar.
Every Mondays for a fresh new episode of Uncle, Please Sit.
This is a forum for discussion with the one and only Kumar Varun, known as KV, across the continent. A man who I've worked with. I've had the pleasure of sharing lunch with. And it was Mud Island, where all the unknown celebrities of no repute and no standing in society are made to shoot, such as myself and young Kumar Varun, who's either an MBA or an IIT grad, if I remember correctly. So highly overqualified for comedy. The kind of guy who then enters our space and then looks down on us for the rest of his life. Because he knows for a fact at the age of 7, he was better educated than most of the comedic fraternity, as well as the news fraternity. I represent both. And now the news fraternity is funnier than a comedic fraternity. Let me warn you, young man. Kumar ji, welcome to the show. I have lots of biodata here. Please interrupt me. I talk too much. So talk anytime you want to. I'm like a friendly Arnab. So you've got like the Rottweiler Arnab. I'm the Pomeranian Arnab. So you can just say what you want in between.
Friendly Arnab is the best way to describe you, Cyrus, now to think.
Yeah. See, we have so much in common. Unruly hair, glasses, shouting and screaming, only listen to ourselves. But the thing is that my thing doesn't hurt anyone at the moment. But he has much more power because people listen to him. If he had a podcast, it would be very dangerous. I've told him not to. Kumar, I'm trying to find my biodata on you because now everything is electronic, so you have to understand. It's difficult. Yeah, we've got it. Are you ready for all the great things about yourself?
Why?
You are a nutritionist, author, and exercise physician. No, that's the next guest. Luke Coutinho. You're not him. I'm so sorry. You are also not Niharika Pandey. You're not her either. But who you are is, damn you, where's your biodata? I'm sorry. You're from Delhi, Noida.
Yes.
We weren't even sure. Delhi, Noida, okay, listen. You're a massive cricket and history buff. We are going to, definitely get into that. Did your B.Tech, then did your MBA. How dare you, in the words of Arnab Goswami, how dare you? You did then you were a marketing manager. You told me all this at our shoot about 6 months ago. You were a marketing manager at DBS Bank. Before that, you were a systems engineer at TCS. Good body of work. You fucked it all up and decided to come to this terrible line.
Yes.
We'll start with that. But you're also a huge cricket fan and you've been to Sachin Tendulkar's house. So I thought we'd open the innings with what the hell does that even mean? With all your credentials, did you get a job cleaning Sachin Tendulkar's house?
No, Cyrus. So I was brand manager at a bank, like you said. And Sachin was, and still is, the brand
Very
ambassador.
rich man.
Yes.
Well,
And
yes,
he was
yes.
brand ambassador. So I went to his place to basically just discuss our next TV commercials and like ideas and brainstorm and all that. So yeah, it was unbelievable. Like one of those moments like we're standing outside his house and there are fans standing outside. And then we reach the gate and people think that, oh, these guys must be another bunch of fans who are here just to take photo of his house. And then suddenly the guard says, hey, you guys come. And the gate opens and we enter. I've never felt so privileged. And then we enter inside and we're sitting at his waiting area and I see all the awards that he has won. Yeah, and then we meet with Anjali ma'am and we are discussing about Sachin. It was great. It was surreal in the sense that, there are four of us.
Anjali ma'am was also in the waiting room waiting to take an appointment to meet Sachin.
No. She came to receive us and then we met her. And
is it true that when he meets you, he gives you a ball and then starts batting and says, "Ikre tak," and points to where he wants the ball to be pitched and all that? No, that's all good. I thought it was too much.
No, he was very sweet.
Did you behave like a fanboy or you were there as like, marketing, client servicing head sort of guy?
Yeah, I was confused between the two in the sense that...
So you did both?
Yeah, I was fanboying because I was like, I should take photo of this award that he won. I'm at his house. But then I also had to be like, ma'am, so the positioning of the brand is like, you have to live our life and like less banking, more living. So I had to toggle between the two.
And also lots earning. That's the difference between Sachin Tendulkar and the other guys who are banking with you. Unfortunately. Yeah. Not unfortunately, you're no longer with the bank. Right. We'll come back to cricket in a big way. But now I want to look at your lovely transition from... This is the best part of doing this show is meeting people who go from one field to another. And the amazing this is just a one-way street actually. Lots of MBAs, lots of IT guys, lots of guys in the tech field. You're one of the few in a dual field. Then chuck it all for no definite chance in the other field, which is completely different, the arts field. Which is really amazing that you can have that balance. It rarely happens that way that you say Anubhav Pal at the age of 46 gives up comedy and says, now I'll do training as a chemical engineer. That has never happened so far, unfortunately. But this has happened a few times. But you've got a dual major in two very scientific and very, let's call them mathematical sort of mindset fields, where everything is on pen and paper, everything is right there. And I still can't wrap my head around the fact that people like you, and there have been a few more examples, can actually chuck it all away.
Yeah, I mean, when I look back, nothing was planned, Cyrus. So like a normal middle class person, we grew up thinking that we'll do science after 10th standard and we'll do engineering because engineering is, like, fortunately or unfortunately, the quickest way to get a job in the country. So I did go for engineering.
Now it's being a news channel panelist. Yeah. That's what we tell our kids these days. Sorry. But also you said normal middle class upbringing. There's nothing normal about middle class. It's the worst class in India by far. We'll discuss that also later. I want to interrupt your flow.
But the
conventional upbringing.
The situation in house was as such that, I had to get a job as quickly as possible. Although I did want to, like, now that you mention it, in my school, one of those slam book thing where you write, like, what do you want to become when you grow old? And I used to write journalist because I used to feel this is that job that I'll do finally in life. I'll go to Delhi University, go to St. Stephen's or Hindu or Hansraj, and then I'll become a journalist. But anyway, that's another story. So I went...
Throw it away. I want to wait for a second here. So, because you're now a comedian, stroke actor, stroke writer, which is a little bit away from journalism. And before that, you were like a BTech and then you were like an MBA, which again is away from journalism. So, where did journalism come from?
In my school, so I was an avid reader. I still am, and a big newspaper buff, if there's a word like that. I read newspaper like.
For today's generation, newspaper is a book. It's fair enough. You do 4 pages of a newspaper, you read almost like the Gita. That's that big.
Yeah, so I always thought that I'll become a journalist. Like, I'll write articles in newspaper. This was my dream. Like, I had very simple dream that morning I'll get up, go and take interviews, and then I'll write an article in the evening and it'll come in the newspaper next day. In fact, very recently I did a podcast with Veer Sanghvi and I told him the same thing. I was like, I read your articles when I was in school and I was like, one day I'll write articles like this guy.
Wow. And was he upset?
No, he was very happy.
You've already put your leg in 4 different fields. I want to steal journalism. No, so it's very interesting. So you had a serious bent of mind to be a journalist. Normally, there's a crusader in a person who wants to be a journalist. Initially, just like even with politicians, those who initially want to get into politics, mante banne ke pehle, and then they realize that, of course, you don't serve the nation really. But initially, there is a sense of, sincerity. I hate to use this word with comedians, but Do you feel that you had that, मैं कुछ करूँगा, मैं कुछ दिखाएगा, मैं कुछ,
100%, Cyrus. I think with age,
समाज में परिवर्तन चाहिए, that kind of, was that all that in your head?
It was there. It was there at some point. But you know how it works. Like with age and like with responsibilities and like when practicality of the
What
life.
age? You look like my son. What are you talking about? You're 63. That's so sweet.
Still, thank you so much.
You look like a 22-year-old guy. And your lovely
Yes,
story about moving after a breakup with your dog touched me to the core. After which I'm a lifelong fan. Anybody who puts dog above people, straight away lifelong fan. After that, you can be racist, communist, casteist. I don't give a fuck. You put the dog first.
Oh my God.
Top apex
That's
council.
the best way anyone has described the events in my relationship.
Well, you have two fans, my father and me. I told him the story, we both were happy. Because if the score in football terms, I know you're a sports buff and you love your football, is like 1,700,000 for humans and like 1 goal scored for our animal society. So I think you should get a pat on the back for that. Again, back to the flow. I keep digressing. That zeal tha, no?
That zeal was there. That I will change like society and etc. I remember like yesterday I was discussing Rang De Basanti with someone, and Rang De Basanti had come when we were in engineering. Like
Jesus of Montreal, full copy.
Yeah, I know.
But that's a story for another day. Why should I prick the bubble, burst the balloon, destroy the carcass?
I saw and we were all like, oh man, we have to do something about this country. And then of course once like I discussed this recently with someone where I was like,
shirt utara, that famous scene, you and your 5 pals running around the fields.
Bare feet.
Well, if they endorse the show, we're okay with it. Yeah.
But yeah, like now you think in terms of like your career and how people are dependent on you, like your dog, your mom, and
dog about mom. Arre baba. Excuse my ball patch. A lot of respect. Silvery to note, put some nice music in the background when he says dog first and mom second. That's a huge moment in podcast history.
Yeah. A giant leap for canine kind.
Yes, a giant. Yes, beautifully put. Again, back to you.
Yeah, so
you have to pay bills. Basically, life caught up with you is what you're saying.
Life caught up. Like once you, like as a teenager, you're like, I'll do this, I'll do that. But once you start working, like I was working in TCS, which is world's biggest employer in software industry. And then you're earning 22 grand a month and you're like, ye kafi hai, this is good enough. And let me just focus on this.
But keep in mind, you were what, 23, 24, you're a young guy.
Yeah, I was 23 when I joined TCS.
So 23, earning 23, wow.
23.
आज भी वैसा ही है 33 earning 33 या
no, thank God.
34 पहुंच गया या नहीं
34 very soon, November में. But so thankfully the rise has been not linear. It's not 33 earning 33. But yeah, like life caught up, Cyrus, if I have to summarize.
Right. So there's a chance if you have to relive your life that you would take journalism first?
There is. I would honestly...
Let's say take money out of the window. Supposing you were born rich, yeah, shadi ke baad, as we all hope in our fantasy, you'll marry Miss India who's earning millions. But that happened with the Jonas brothers, not us. So just for a second, that you think that sometimes the comedian who has that in him is perhaps the best comedian. Because he uses satire, he uses comedy to sort of make points which hit home better than, say, other people who are lecturing you or doing whatever they want to or boring you with statistics, which are all true. So, in a Bill Burrish sort of manner, you think you could have been a journalist?
Yeah, I'm so happy you asked this because I keep thinking about it. If I had that privilege that you said of being born in a rich family and no stress about paying rent and electricity bill and Wi-Fi bill and house help bill, I would have definitely, as a kid, would have definitely pursued literature, writing. I would have been an author or a journalist. And even in terms of comedy, if I had that privilege, I would have definitely been more vocal about
more out there
and context and state of the nation and like
Karna mana hai, basically.
Yeah. But yeah, now none of my comedy, Cyrus, like if you watch my stand-up videos, they're so basic. Like it's just like about engineering, about MBA, like very basic. And although I'm very, very interested in history, in context, in society, in caste, and like you look at, I just keep reading about it, but I never make comedy around it because I'm scared. I have to pay rent. I'm being very, very practical.
Correct. No, I agree with you. People always say, why don't you say something? I always tell them, why don't you say something? What the fuck do people always put the burden on who they think is a comedian? I'm not a comedian. I'm paying bills just like you. I've got family, old people, young people, all kinds of shit. I don't have parking. I don't know whether I've paid GST. I don't know if my service tax number is correct. How can you drive me mad after this?
Yeah, I have this complaint from people where they like sort of expect you to do or say something about everything. And I'm like, no, I'm doing my job. And there is an extreme, and I hate to say this, but there's a section of people who would say, if you don't speak, you're with them. And I'm like, no.
You're a coward. So, engineering mein kya jokes hai, bench, aur kuch bolo. It's like that. So the thing is, we have to explain to them, everyone can't be Kunal Kamra. Now, Kunal Kamra's story only I know. Kunal Kamra is the king of Sweden's son. So he has lots of money and he owns a country. So any moment now, when the heat gets too much, he can get on a flight and get out and go to Sweden and live happily ever after and continue pontificating. You, my friend, and me have bills to pay. We have our dogs and mothers to look after. So it's not going to be easy.
Lot of.
What dog does Kunal Kamra have? How much has he done for his mother? I want to know. No, okay, I'm just kidding.
Might be brave. Call me coward, but I'll shy away. Maybe someday. But
Exactly. Or you write in between the lines, like the famous Soviet Union satirists and all those people. In North Korea, for example, what does a stand-up comedian do in North Korea? I was just thinking, how many jokes can he do on himself? After some time, like, can I try one on the ruling party, one on society in general, and then his aunt is shot dead, or 7 German shepherds eat up his father while he's performing.
Or the better route would be just for the comedian to go to the government and say, hey, my jokes will be just propaganda, and there'll be a rule that you have to laugh on every line. And then the audience will have the pressure to laugh because they'll be shot dead. You know what I mean?
That's a great way to have a successful stand-up show, special, so to speak. Organize an audience, point guns at them, you don't show that perspective, and they just keep laughing every time.
Yeah.
I think this is don't let the government hear this. There'll be too many comedians around with their ideas, stealing everything. Okay, we're making fun of this, but I like the fact that you should speak in whatever voice you want to speak in. How can someone tell you what to speak in? If you feel fear, you wait for another day to say it. That's it. No biggie. Don't worry about it. I'm with you. So, but let's now pursue the life of Kumar Varun right from the beginning. You didn't take up the journalism dream. You got into the middle class nightmare of ek degree, dusra degree, tisra degree, and all that, right? So obviously you were good at studies.
Yeah. So I was good at scoring marks. Let me put it that way. Like I've cracked the hack of the Indian education system and how to score marks. So when I look back at my engineering, I don't think I remember what I studied because I didn't really study it with a lot of passion. I spent most of my time quizzing, reading, debating, jamming, and like literary society and like.
You were a misfit in engineering. You wanted to be an artist. You're stuck there. So the moment they had a poetry contest or a joke contest or whatever, you said, F this, I'm going.
100%. But having said all that, I was still one of the, I was always in top 3 people in the batch in terms of marks. I was always in top 10. My CGPA, to give you context, out of 10 is 9.06, which is huge. Okay, because I knew how to score marks. I knew to study this, study that, study this portion. This is important. So I was very methodical about my studies.
The matlabi touch, how to get the most out of the very interesting, very, which you probably use in comedy as well.
Yeah.
So, don't waste time, get to the point, get to the joke, which joke will work. You have to have, there's a certain native cunning.
I do that. In terms of comedy also, I know which video to release, how much to say, how much to save for later.
So it's almost like a marketing mindset was already there.
Yes.
Which is a natural sort of DNA thing which is already there in your head. Because that's a different aspect from the creative aspect.
I agree with that.
Wow.
I agree with that.
Excellent.
When I look back, I do agree with this. That I've always had this marketing bent and this marketing shrewdness about how to go about it.
And that's why you decide not to say take on the government or take on a religious platform or something like that. Not because you didn't find a joke in your mind, but because you don't think it's worth the hassle.
Yeah.
What is it? Sometimes the sex you do is not worth the sex you get. Actually, the word starts with F, but if I say that, it sounds really vulgar. But if you put it in context, repeat after me. Sometimes the F you do is not worth the F you get. Return on investment. Why couldn't you just say that and save us time? Old comedian trying to find words which don't make sense. An old Firdausi quote, which of course in Persian must be sounding beautiful, and now reduced to rubbish between us. I apologize. Yeah. So anyway, but when you got into the whole education thing, I know your heart was not in it. Obviously, now you looking back, you can see that. But you were convinced this is your life, right? That's why you're coming in the top 3. That's why you're doing so well at the same time. So while you were feeding your artistic side by going for the acting stuff and the poetry and the jokes and all that, you were very much convinced that this will be your actual life, the BTech and then the MBA to follow.
Yeah, because at inside, like the person who was inside was always focused on how quickly he can start earning and support his family. So my priority was clear that I need a job. That was my number one priority.
So you're reminding me of Mumbai in the 80s, 70s. We had a lot of people who were called dual professionals who would work in theatre, in English and Hindi theatre especially. Gujarati and Marathi, there was some money, so they would be proper professionals. But Hindi and English, they would work and they would have a job. They would have to have a job, right? So the job would be one thing, and then you would have this on the side for yourself, so you don't die. Because deep down, you hate building a bridge or whatever the hell your job is.
Yeah.
So
even the cricketers, right, Cyrus? If I'm not wrong, even the cricketers 70s had a job and then they were playing cricket.
Yeah, if they achieved, they would even get a job, but they would keep it because post-retirement, they would then take that job seriously. So it was railways, these kind of people, Air India and all, have done a lot of service for sport. Let's give them a lot of respect for that. There's nothing else. And pretty good service, but let's not digress. If I digress, this conversation will go nowhere. Let's go back to your lovely story. So you did that. I'm just trying to understand your mindset as you grew a little older, because you still didn't look at yourself as a professional artist.
No.
Wo jo hai is like your personal thing for yourself. And the professional side was very clear. And like you said, you had a marketing brain, so you knew I have to sell myself, I have to do this. This is reality. For you, reality and perspective was very clear. This is what I'm getting out of all this. Am I right?
Yeah. In fact, that continued for a long time. Like I never, till 2015, thought that this can be a career.
But then how can a guy like you, who's so clear that this is like the amateur side of me, which I'll enjoy till I'm 100, at Sangeets and all, I'll perform or whatever, but that's not something I'll take seriously. How would you suddenly switch? Because you're very clear in your mind that reality was doing all this, getting a job, you've got these dual degrees, you've always done well, so you're always going to get a good job as well. Because, you're one of those guys who, I know you smile a lot and all, but you're a driven human being. That's clear. So how did you make that switch? I mean, it's even more amazing now that you would take that chance.
Yeah. So I will continue where I left, which was engineering. Where I was.
I'll keep quiet. Point taken.
No, because that's important. That's important because that will lead us to the question that you asked. While I was pursuing my engineering properly, my job properly, I took CAT and I scored really well. I went to my Dream B school, got the best job there. But throughout all this, there was always a parallel track, which is me on stage, being the cultural secretary of the college. I was the head of English and Hindi Lits at my engineering. I was the cultural secretary of my B school. So that was always there. I was always, that guy in school, today is the Republic Day function. So who is going to host? Today is the Independence Day function. So one guy goes on stage and long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny and now the time comes.
Oh, that was Nehru.
It was always that. So all that used to happen. I was the funny guy in office who's the head of sales ka birthday hai. So hey, come on. Say something about him. So you're like, oh, sir, aisa karte hain, sir, waisa karte hain. Oh, he's a funny guy. So all that used to happen. And I think the switch happened because, if I have to pinpoint one person, it'll be Rahul Subramanian. And you know him, our mutual friend. He was in Mahindra and both of us were working in Mahindra. And I was...
So in a sense, it was Mahindra and Mahindra because
Mahindra
you're in one Mahindra, you were...
Yeah.
I apologize. I will not speak again. I've upset you. I'm so sorry. Carry on.
I'm just looking for a nice, that's a Thar.
If Mahindra and Mahindra were part of the government, would they become Mahindra and Narendra?
Nice.
Nice.
Bolero. I'm just saying of some Mahindra vehicle wordplay there. Man.
Back to you. You met Rahul Subramanian. You're in simultaneous jobs and...
Yeah, we were both working in the same building, same company, very similar profiles. We were both engineers, MBAs, and we were both management cadre of Mahindra Group. Both, and then I hosted a show in Mahindra. Just next day, Rahul goes to his office, and everyone is talking about this new management guy who killed last night. And Rahul was like, "Ye ek naya kaun? How?" I am supposed to be the funny guy in Mahindra. Who is this new guy? So he searched for me in that building. He asked around, where's Kumar Varun? And we go back to this scene so often in our lives because people keep asking how this duo started and all that. And I was working on my laptop and this one guy comes and he's like, hey, are you Kumar Varun? I'm like, hey, hi. Kal perform kiya gaya? I was like, yeah. Bahar aake baat kar sakte kya? I'm like, Arey, what is happening? So he's like, come out. And then Rahul and I go out and he's like, okay. so तू comedy करता है क्या? I'm like, no, मतलब I just do this random whatever.
This is a comedian धमकी.
Yeah, it's very like we keep saying it's very like something like that. So then what did you do before this? Did you do an MBA? I said yeah. From where? I said FMS Delhi. He said IMT Ghaziabad. Oh nice. Before that I worked. Oh I also worked. Oh and before that engineering. Oh engineering. Oh nice. Cool. What do you do on weekends?
मम्मी का नाम क्या है?
Yeah.
Next stop.
So it's like, what do you do on weekends? I'm like, yeah, I just like generally watch football. Oh, you watch football? Which team? I like Liverpool. Liverpool! I'm a Liverpool fan! Like, yeah, dude, it's crazy. And that's how, like everything else we were okay with. This Liverpool Football Club, we were all like, dude, what's happening?
It's the scene from Diwar, but with a little bit of modern context. But it would work better with these lines today if we were to reshoot the film. Instead of तेरे पास माहिर है, तेरे पास Liverpool है. I mean, sorry, मेरे पास Liverpool है.
Yeah, so that happened, and then he was the one who kept saying, "Kuch karte hain yaar."
But was he working as a comic, or he was again? You were in the same position as the funny guy in the group, but was he working as a comedian?
So he had started doing open mics and all. He was
and he had a name. He was known.
Just starting out. So like,
but you had not. Yours was purely only in office.
Yes,
and I suppose on Saturday night with the ladies.
Or like if the ladies work in HR department, then they'll know that he can do a show for free or something like that.
Ladies have been exploiting my friend Kumar Varun. People to note, we will not stand for this. In the words of Goswami, we will not stand for this. We will not let this man suffer. You're a foreigner who's come to Mumbai and Bollywood has treated you badly. I can see it already. So you met Rahul and?
So Rahul and I met and we were like, let's do something together. And that went on for a while. We did not because we were working. We didn't get time. And then I moved out of Mahindra. I moved to a company called Development Bank of Singapore, DBS Bank. And then both of us saw an ad on Facebook called YouTube Comedy Hunt, which was YouTube India's first like reality competition for like a funny collective or something. And that's when Rahul and I started our channel. And we eventually won that tournament. And that's how this journey.
What was the prize?
The prize was being called India's first comedy hunt winners.
Now that's funny. That's funny. I applaud YouTube. They may go through the whole rigmarole of all this, and the prize kya hai? We will give you the title of the best comedic duo on YouTube.
Yeah.
Very good. Not bad.
We did get some goodies from like the sponsors, but
you started working together for the first time there.
Yeah. We started working together. And we were being judged by like the famous comedians like who are now our friends like Tanmay and like Biswa, Kanan, and they were all judging. So we basically got exposure. A lot of people like sort of started seeing us, and then we got more work because of that. Like I got Better Life Foundation, a web series. I got AIB sketches.
Slowly. Tell us what happened next. Better Life Foundation it's not a comedy.
Better Life Foundation is a web series. It's a mockumentary. Created by Naveen Richard and his friends called them Boxer Shots. It has Naveen, me, Sumukhi, Kanan. It's like The Office or Parks and Rec in that zone, and that was my first like big acting assignment in that sense outside of what Rahul and I were doing, and that really worked. Like I remember like people identifying me as the character. Like Anirban was my name in that series, and I remember like from DBS, my office was in Fort, and we used to keep going to these pubs in South Bombay, like the Irish House or like Local or like Mondegar and all that. And people used to say like, "Arey Anirban, oh my God, Anirban, you're here!" And it felt so surreal. And like, hey, how
was that the first time you got recognized with the character Anirban?
Yeah.
Wow. I thought not for breaking the toll in Gurgaon or something like that.
No.
I thought they keep a record of that as well. So so you felt great for the first time. You still have your job at this point?
I still have my job.
But does that give you a sense of when people start recognizing you and pointing to you and all that, do you feel that now this could be taken seriously, or still there's a big difference between your proper Mahindra job and, having fun?
Yeah, so this was the point where I got a hint, like you said, that maybe this can be a full-time thing, but like you said earlier, that marketing brain of this marketing plus middle class plus whatever combined in my brain, and also the job there was really high-paying job. Like if I was,
and you worked for that. It's not a joke. You worked for that for so many years. You can chuck away 5-6 figure heavy Just sorry to interrupt, but did Rahul break up from the Mahindra group or whatever first?
Yeah, so Rahul quit first. That was one of the... So Rahul quit in 2016, I think. And then I was like, okay, abhi to Rahul ne bhi chhod diya. Like Rahul started.
But he didn't ask you to quit. He didn't say, I'm Salim, you'll be Javed. I'm Jatin, you'll be Lalit. I'm Simon, you'll be Garfunkel.
He did.
Huh?
He pushed me a lot in the sense, like in a positive sense. Like he kept saying, abhi to let's do it full time.
I thought the moment he quits, he's on the phone all the time saying, boss, come now. Boss, come now.
Yeah.
But no gigs were lined up yet.
No. So I started. I went through a phase of almost a year where I was contemplating when to quit, how to quit. And it was not an overnight decision. Like a lot of people messaged me saying, hey, what was that moment when you... It's not like that. It was a very practical, planned, organized, a proper Excel sheet that, I need a saving of this much. I need an emergency fund for this much. I need to save... I need to have a corpus, like a fund where if I...
How you kill the romantic moment in your journey. Yes. Honestly, you butchered it and murdered it. This was your Gautam Buddha moment. This was your Nirvana, the light, everything happening. And what do you tell us? Hey, yaar, मैं तो practical आदमी हूँ. मैं तो सोच के करता हूँ. ऐसा नहीं करता काम. I look properly. ये है, वो है, ये setting हो गया, वो setting हो गया. फिर मैंने plunge किया. But that's the reality. Under all this, that's the reality.
That's why I know this is totally unromantic, but I keep saying this. Like every AMA or whatever, anyone says, hey, when was that moment? I'm like, hey, don't never make decisions like this. Don't wake up one night and
because they ask you, I'm sure they ask you also from the point of view, they want you to empower them to do it. And how the fuck can you do that? You can't tell a guy who's worked all his life for double MBA with a good job in, Jardine Fleming or whatever to chuck 2 lakhs a month away and then start from scratch because you did it and feel good and have done well. How can you can't, no one can do that.
100%. That's why I keep saying no, plan your risk accordingly, have a fund so
that's who needs the competition, na? That's also there, na? Corporate काम. More important, you have old parents. Give them the right message.
Dog and parent.
Dog and parents, yeah.
So I was like, if I don't get any work for like 6 months or a year,
survive.
I would still survive. So
this was no COVID, huh? In COVID, those 6 months would have become 2 months or something. So eaten away at the savings. We'll return to that as well if we have time. But the question here is that there must have been fear, no? I know you're very practical. I'm presuming Rahul was a little more impulsive. And may have gone more with the flow. But I think you, in your mind, have to tell yourself that speed breakers hai. They put everything in place so the car can't get damaged. And yet, was there fear? The day you actually quit, tell us how it felt.
Oh, there was fear. Because no matter how much we talk about the mundane nature of a corporate life, you do get paid at the end of the month, regardless of how you've done
and
that.
You were doing well. It's not like you were one of those guys who hates the environment and is not doing well, Yeah,
I had just gotten promoted.
Oh, man.
That year, the year that I quit.
How funny is that?
I got promoted from manager to senior manager or like something. Some level. Parents did not know Cyrus. Like my parents...
my parents a closet homosexual. You can't tell them. Arey Baba.
My parents, like they did not... And till date, I don't think they understand what I do, to be honest. Unless like they bump into me on TV or something. Otherwise, they don't know the digital world or like whatever. So when
I'm your parents, basically.
Yeah.
I can see from their point of view. Okay.
Yeah. So like the day I quit, like before that, any work that I had done in terms like Better Life Foundation, AIB demonetization sketch, Honest Campus, IFAP for people, they were not aware of all this. They were not aware at all. So when I quit, I did not really tell them. I quit because I was not with them. They were in Delhi, I was in Bombay.
But what would you say on the phone?
Kaisa chal raha hai? I'll be like, हाँ सब ठीक चल रहा है. They were never the parent who would ask you.
They never ask you exactly what's going on in office. घटना के बारे में, they don't ask you any questions like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So
never. So when finally this transition, I realized that it has now reached a level where I'm earning enough, like as much as I was earning in my job. That's when I told them, and it wasn't like coming out of closet. It was very like casual conversation. कि हाँ क्या चल रहा है? नहीं नौकरी तो छोड़ दिया मैंने. अच्छा okay. हाँ ये सही चल रहा है. They were like, oh okay. And I was old enough for them to trust.
But then how to explain pension, back retirement, later years, which is not there in comedy?
I know. But they never asked.
Oh, they won't watch the podcast. No? It was unnecessary. I upset them.
Not at all.
We're safe. We're okay. All right. We have to take a quick break. Then we'll come back and talk about all the other things you've done as well. But before that, the actual resignation, can you take us through that? I know you killed the romance of it, but just how did you do? You just sent an email?
Yeah. So I'll tell you. Okay, let's bring some romantic angle to it.
Yeah. Music, please. Musical.
Let's do that. Let's bring some romanticism into picture. Okay, the moment the penny dropped kind of a moment was when I was with my friends on a vacation. Okay, so there are three friends, two friends of mine and I. Three of us were in this in a pool. Okay, drinking beer Okay, and we're all just chilling. And then we realized that we've been friends in school, but we still don't know what each one of us does in their office life. Okay, so we just casually started talking like, "Tu kya karta hai? Tu kya karta hai?" And my friend says, "Hey, so he works in a trading firm in Singapore." So he started explaining how ships work, how trading works, and how millions of deals are passed because of the ship.
And this is why we drink. The moment he starts telling us this kind of story, people go straight to the bar.
So all that was happening. We're like, dude, you're doing great job, dude. Like, we've been friends for 16, 17 years. Then the other guy is like, yeah, I work in supply chain and parachute oil, etc., etc. We're like, oh, dude, this is crazy demand supply. And then I said, yeah, I'm banking, branding. And they were like, 1 second, why aren't you quitting? And I was like, the job is good and I don't know if I'll make enough money. And then they said, and this was actually a life-changing conversation. They were like, what's your biggest fear in life when you quit? What's your biggest fear? And I was trying to come up with an answer, and they said, I guess the fear is that you get up and there is no money, right? Like, there's no money to pay rent, there's no money to eat food. Like, can it be worse? And I was like, yeah, maybe that's the biggest fear. I get up and I have zero money in my account and I don't know how I'll survive. And then they said, if we promise you that at any point, we will never let you run out of money. Like, we're a call away. You call us and we'll be like, kitna chahiye? 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 10 lakh, 20 lakh. We will ensure. Now tell me, can you quit?
What are your friends' names?
Ankur and Sachin.
Can I have them as friends?
Yes. Yes.
Ankur and Sachin. Are they still doing well?
They are a lot better than them.
My God. So you had your own bank, basically.
So Ankur and Sachin said, if you ever run out of money, we are there. Now tell me, why aren't you quitting? And they said that, and I'm sure, Varun, you have more friends who are there for you like this. And I literally made a list, Cyrus, believe it or not. I took a pen and paper and I wrote a list of people I can call anytime.
Crowdfunding, bro. Crowdfunding.
And they will give me money regardless of whatever. And I made a list of 17 people. I still remember. There were 17 people on that list. And I was like, okay, let me quit. And I came back.
Can you take us through the list just for safety?
Really? Ankur,
Sachin, or kaun hai?
Dimpy.
Sounds dangerous, huh?
Bhushan. It's long. Bhushan, Harsh,
even 10 grand each, which is nothing because most of them are doing well. 10 grand each comes to close to 2 lakhs, which will suffice if you had no work for a month or two.
Yeah,
easily.
100%.
Not
100%.
bad, boss. Good
that
thinking.
Gives me a lot of confidence. Like,
now, my problem is the opposite. I have a list of 70 friends who I owe money to. I don't want to ever bring them up or talk about them because they'll come looking for me. So it's really different, our experience. How come you have such good friends? Have you seen Hello Friends?
Everyone has been sharing this. We did a YouTube live about sitcoms recently, and then a lot of people, we talked about Friends, and then people started messaging me, hey, have you seen this? And
they sent it to, what's that guy's name? David Schwimmer. Yeah, he's gone to a monastery in Tibet to recover. He's completely destroyed mentally and spiritually. But if you want more friends, I can send you straight from the set. But again, we are making fun of all these things, but this must have really been an emotional sort of, what do you call it, like a support, like a bra that, keeps you happy. Because then you had the courage to actually go against your middle class upbringing, your very strong marketing savvy side, which tells you ki karna hai ya nahi karna hai. You have that sixth sense, I'm presuming. And so you put that all away. So this little support you got from the friends must have also played a part. Right?
Oh, a lot.
But once you did it, tell me, did you ever feel you're going, this is just I'll try this, temporary baat hai, yeah, I'm actually, this is it. I turn the road and I'm going the other direction. Or did you just think, let's give it a try?
Yeah, I thought I'll give it a try. I came back to my office. This was August, okay? August is when this entire swimming pool conversation happened. Came back to work, met my boss. Thankfully, I had a great boss. Great boss.
Male or female?
Male.
Arre, damn it.
Great boss. And I met him and I told him, I think it's time, I'll quit. And he reacted in the most wonderful manner to sort of like supplement the romanticism. He brought the reality into picture. And he was like, okay, you can quit. Let's plan it properly. And I was like, wow, man, what is this guy? And he said...
You're like Raymond. Everybody likes Raymond. Everybody likes Kumar Varun.
I think so. That's what that happened.
Huh.
So he was like, let's plan it properly. December is the end of year, so you'll have your appraisal, then you'll get your bonus in February. Like he made a nice roadmap of how to quit, and then he said March, April, when the money comes in the account.
Timing bhi ek cheez hai, bhai. Timing bhi ek cheez hai. Haan.
Then you quit. Till then, if you really want to leave, or like when you want to leave early, I will allow you to do all that. So I really did do a lot of things in these few months. Like
what's your boss's name? You should give him a shout out.
Yeah, Krishna Kota. I always give him a shout out.
Is he still in touch with you? How nice that you are all these.
His house, Cyrus.
You realize?
He's my landlord also now.
Oh, I thought something else. I was worried.
No.
After the girl left.
To Singapore, he moved to the headquarters at DBS Singapore. And so he said, instead of looking for like new tenants, why don't you move in and become my tenant also? So I'm his tenant and his. So yeah, this is
superb.
His house. Super.
A little bit of karma involved here. All your support system coming through for you, giving you the courage to go against the whole middle class thinking and mindset. And because let's call you a corporate success. You would have probably in 10 years been head of big departments or in another company abroad, God knows. But to do that, all these guys played an important role. We keep saying this again and again. People listening will say, God, he's repeating himself. But without that, these stories will not go anywhere. Without these little small influences. Am I right to say this? The Krishna Kota, Sachin and and the gang.
And Rahul, of course.
Yeah. Rahul, of course. Rahul's a catalyst, the main catalyst. I would presume you never met Rahul. You would have been the guy who's very funny. And guys in the office saying, tu itna funny hai, bhai. You're much funnier than that Cyrus Brocha or the Rahul Subramanian and all that. Why didn't you try it? And you never tried. Am I right?
100%.
It would have just gone on like that.
Agreed.
And then you'd have married a woman and frustrated with your comedic gift, you would only tell her the jokes until she chokes you with the shower ka wo wire hai na, it's steel, but it's flexible. And she'll choke you and kill you while you're telling your last joke about how you left Delhi to come to Mumbai to meet girls. Something like that. Anyway, it's very interesting. Let's take a break.
I was never a lone wolf. I was always the guy who thrives on like...
You sound like a hostel story, you know. If you look at guys who come from a lot of hostel culture, IIT boys, Film Institute boys, engineering boys, they have a very strong background of the hostel guys who are always friends for life. Not to give Chetan Bhagat too much credit, but his book is quite accurate in that sense. So you seem to, you seem to have that padding, which is great. Because I think on television channels we only see negative side of human nature. Bollywood parties mein ye hai, charas, paras, karas, faras. And nobody ever wants to talk about the nice things that happen. A young man like Kumar Varun could have been stuck in a corporate entity for the rest of his life, which was not a bad thing, but his real personality and persona would never have developed. And this beautiful man who I've seen naked at an advertising shoot because he changed in front of me and blew me a kiss while doing it. We would not have enjoyed this gift of yours. You would have been just another big shot driving a Mercedes-Benz, living in, what did you do? Kumar Varun, what did you do? Stay there. We'll take a break.
I want to thank Intel for supporting our show. We're all loving working from home, but let's be honest, there are complications to this. For example, getting help from IT folks if your PC is down can be a challenge because you can't just walk up to the IT support desk anymore to get your issue sorted out. Well, you'll be happy to hear that I have a solution for all your work from home pains. The Intel vPro platform. The platform comes packed with Intel Active Management technology that lets your IT teams remotely manage your system, fix the problems even when the PCs aren't near them or are unresponsive, especially with the reduced desk site visits. So it means more time getting your work done and less time spent on getting support. What's more, the vPro platform also maximizes all your PC security, stability, and performance needs. Visit intel.in/morewithvpro, that's VPRO, to discover how you can do more of what you want and less of what you don't. If you're listening on the IVM Podcast Android app, you will be able to click the link that's visible to you now.
We've taken a break. We've come back. How are you doing, Bo? All good? Okay, enough of the romance. Now tell us about the second side, which is now you plunge headlong. Your only friend at the moment is Rahul Subramanian in this business. And but you've already got equity because people say, use this guy. You know, you've got a couple of shows where your character has been a hit, etc. Once that happens, the ball keeps rolling. So what happens next?
Okay.
Start writing?
Once we won the YouTube Comedy Hunt, Rahul and I, people started noticing us. Okay. So they knew that these two new guys on the block who are like MBAs and corporate, they are good. Like people were noticing us. And then we did a small series called Random Chapter, which is about office humor and all that. And that also people noticed. So we were being noticed essentially as of now. Okay. We are in 2017. Okay. And then, like I told you, Better Life Foundation happened. That also happened out of nowhere because Naveen Richard, like I told you earlier,
but that already happened before you quit, huh?
Yeah, before I quit.
Huh.
So okay, let's start with after quitting.
Yeah.
While I was working, things like Better Life Foundation, things like AIB Honest Campus Placement, which was a huge hit, that came when I was in my notice period, like about to quit. Okay. After that, I think the big things that started happening was stand-up. Like I hadn't still done stand-up as such. I didn't really want to also.
So you were more like a funny guy acting at the moment.
Yeah.
While you were taking it less seriously. The moment you jumped out, you knew you had to be So Rahul was writing his own stand-up.
Yeah.
By then.
Yeah.
So you knew you had to do that.
Yeah. So Rahul was doing stand-up. He kept asking me to do stand-up. That's also a funny story about how just things fall into place. I wasn't very keen on stand-up. I was happy making sketches and acting, and I was really happy. But then, okay, so I'll tell you this story. Okay, so I knew that stand-up you have to start with like 3-minute set, 5-minute set, etc. And my style on stage till date is very like I'll take time. I'm not a setup punchline.
You're telling me I haven't got through the first story of how you became a comedian. Kab se start kiya humne? I think 45 minutes are up. Go on. That's your style. You'd like to get to it at your pace. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I'm not a very setup punchline, tuck, joke kind of guy. So I was very scared of going on stage, doing a 3-minute set, bombing, and then thinking this will never work. Okay. So I was postponing this entire stand-up thing for a long time. In fact, there were so many moments where I remember there was a party where Rahul and I were with Tanmay. And Tanmay said, "Hey, Rahul, tu stand-up karta hai na?" He's like, "Yeah, I've just started." And tu nahi karta? I was like, "Nahi, main nahi karta." "Kyun nahi karta?" And I was like, I need like 15-20 minutes on stage. We'll change the entire system of comedy for you. The people will start with 20 minutes. And I was like, no, I don't know, man. So all that happened for a while. And then one fine day, I'm at Cuckoo Club and I'm sitting with Akash Mehta. Okay. Akash Mehta is sitting and he's like, "Hey, I've seen your sketches, dude. You're damn funny, dude." I'm like, "Hey, thanks, man." He's like, "Why don't you start doing stand-up?" And I was like, no, same old. So I said, I can't do 2-3 minutes. It's very difficult. And he's like, "Oh, sir, how much? Do you want to do 20 minutes? And I was like, "Yeah, can I do 20 minutes? And he's like, "Yeah, I'm doing a storytelling open mic here in Google Club. Just come do something for 20 minutes. And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll put your name." And then a few days later, I see a poster with like Ashish Shakya, Azim Anatwala, Naveen Richard, Kumar Varun. And I'm like, dude, he actually did it. And I had no idea what I'm going to thought of something. Went on stage, did 20 minutes, killed. Like with no, like this proper humble brag.
What was it on? What was the topic? Do you remember?
It was NBA Life. It eventually did become a version of this finally released on YouTube last year, which is NBA Life. Okay. 20 minutes of just NBA stories. And it killed so hard. And I was like, wow, dude, this is so good. This I can do. And then, again, chance meeting. If I hadn't met Akash Mehta that day and if I hadn't told him that,
But Akash is like that. He's very decisive. Puts me under a lot of pressure also. Every time you meet him, he's like, "Let's do a show." And he's already planned it. Like, exactly what happened to you. It's very scary. Yeah. He's got that lovely Gujarati dynamism. Which
I keep doing that. Like, every single show that I've hosted after that, every time I've invited him on stage, I'm like, "Okay, guys, the next comedian is something I owe my stand-up career to." He's like, "Oh my God, don't put so much pressure on me. Why do you do that?"
If you ever bomb, you should tell the story immediately. Yeah. You'll be very happy then. Because too much praising gets to a person after some time. Yeah, cool. So going by your life, the synopsis, because this is going to be a PhD course that I'm going to offer later, the life and times of Kumar Varun. The three very important people that we've noticed here. One is, of course, Rahul Subramanian's chance meeting with you. One is, of course, Akash's chance meeting with you. And above all, the very fact that those two friends of yours in a swimming pool drunk out of their mind said, "Bancho, dhanne ka nahi. Call us and we'll send money your way."
Yeah.
Which is very Delhi spiel. This is what I like about Delhi. The confidence, whether it happens, I don't know, but confidence is always good. "Oh, ho jayega, don't worry, quit your job. Main hu, bas, ho gaya."
100%. This is proper Delhi friendship. Or Noida friendship.
Mumbai, no one talks like that. Mumbai, they start thinking immediately. Dikhta hu, agar paisa hai, you see mommy's operation is there, agar kuch hoga, to, you call me, we'll see. It'll be like that.
This is proper Delhi friendship. I agree.
I'm one of those guys, I like lots of things about Delhi. When back in Mumbai, a lot of people always badmouth Delhi. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, because it's just obvious they're louder and cocky and confident and all that. And sometimes there's no substance, so you can understand why. But I really enjoy the culture of Delhi to some extent. I love the brashness, the loudness, the way people just talk to each other. They're actually friendlier people. Wherever we go in Delhi, I've never had a problem talking. There's no one who's trying to hide or very few people are shy in Delhi. But in Mumbai, it takes a long time sometimes for people to actually get going with conversations. It's always like, I don't know who your pop is yet, so we should not talk to you. Only when we find out, it will be like that. So yeah, I'm going to now support Delhi Capitals for the IPL, which brings us to sports. And where we are right now, you're a complete sports nut. Your twin love for football and cricket is unparalleled. Am I right?
It happened last night when Liverpool
both matches were on. Yeah,
both matches, and I tried doing it on 2 tabs on Hotstar, and Hotstar gave an error that you can't watch 2. So I had to open it on my TV, and then I was watching Liverpool Chelsea there and watching Kings 11.
So now here's the big question: where was the sound on? That gives a slight preference.
Sound was on cricket. Cricket and football was muted. Mostly because the Hindi commentary in cricket
is lovely.
It's lovely.
Sehwag is very funny.
Yeah, people make a lot of fun of Hindi commentary, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
So you actually disconnected from the game. We're getting some comedic appeal from the commentary. Disconnected from the game. Actually, you don't really need it. It's funny on another level. And you're watching one game and you're watching another sport all at the same time. My God, this MBA has come in handy. The fact that you have a dual degree and that you can focus on 3 things at the same time and enjoy it. You see, it's all making sense.
It's so good because first Liverpool was winning, so I felt good. And here IPL is back, which is huge, which is great. And I'm also doing something around IPL, like a quiz show around IPL soon. So I had to focus on the statistical aspect of the match also. And then funny commentary, like boom, boom, boomerang. It's so funny. I don't know why. It's just too funny. Like the Hindi commentary is too good.
But also, if you look at it, this context, of course, when you hear the show, is a match that played out, the second match of the IPL. It went down to the wire into super over, etc., etc. Well, the Liverpool game, post a break, the 2 goals went, I think Mane scored tuck. And after that, it was more or less, they're not going to lose from there. And the 10-man Chelsea. So I think you had about a buffer, maybe in the last 35, 40 minutes, where you don't really have to focus. You just have to check that 2-0 doesn't change too much, and you can focus on it. But the cricket became really exciting. And I missed that. Kumar Varun, the last time we met, we discussed cricket and footy. You had sat through a really boring ad process. And let me tell you, for 6-7 months, we've been sitting here without sport. I mean, I watched the whole English season and some of the EPL as well. But at the end of the day, you want to see the Indians in action. And finally, that happens. And I was so happy on Saturday, I can't tell you. I didn't even care about the result that much. I was just so happy. It was almost like the world is normal again. And then you used to see MS Dhoni with strapping muscles coming onto the field. Rohit Sharma's first shot was like, Carl Hooper at his best. Uske baad, of course, it all tumbled. But, just for a minute, forget who wins and loses. The romance, we are 2 romantics. The romance of sport and how much it means to people like you and me.
100%. Like this entire, when COVID happened, this weekend after weekend of just no sports action, it felt so empty. And then finally, Premier League came back in whatever shape and form. This was some way of like, okay.
But not no sports actions, I think, because we had ourselves. And there is one sport we play. All by ourselves. Which brings me to the next point. How is your love life, my friend? Is it fair to ask you this question? Because again, I only met you once really, but I spent a whole day with you. And in that you had just moved out of the house and you had taken the dog with you and the girl had left. So I'm hoping that was October of last year. So I'm hoping that, things are, is there somebody in your life?
No, I'm going through a self-love phase where I'm just focusing on work and myself.
You sound like that ugly daughter, where the family has to say, hey, she focuses on work here. She wants to work. Instead of just saying, nobody likes her, main kya karu?
But I think I'm ready. Like, okay, that's it.
You're ready? You're ready?
No, I'm seeking. I don't know how to put it. It's very like, I've been in only one relationship all my life. So I'm finally
out. Now you're in the entertainment business. You're a known name. You've got work. You're established. So I'm thinking at this point, there must be some interest in looking at that. Now, the one part that's not settled is your love life. Everything else seems to be going...
Sort of. Yeah, like, I don't have the confidence to like...
Mummy daddy क्या कहते हैं?
They're थोड़ा worried. Like...
34 पहुंच गया ना?
Yeah, 34 होने वाला है अभी.
फिर? 30 के बाद you can't marry, from what I'm told. Off camera.
Oh, okay. So, yeah.
You have 1 year.
Yeah, I have 1 year to find someone. But yeah, I don't have the confidence, Cyrus, to go and ask someone out.
Do girls like comedians?
I don't know. Please tell me if you have.
I don't know. When Ashish Shakya used to be with us for a few years, he kept telling me that girls love comedians and he's never had such a good life and all that. But this was before the Me Too thing, so I'm not sure.
No. I will Ashish. I keep talking about him with random topics. I need to ask.
Yeah, he's very successful with the girls, according to him. Now, I was never I don't think I ever went out with him, so I can't tell you for sure. But he seemed sincere, as much as any comedian can be. And obviously, 10 कहानी में से एक भी सही है, तो at least that's something. That's our batting average is not. You don't have to be Bradman here. Just give us.
Decent strike rate for
decent strike rate, exactly.
Like one scoring shot out of 10 balls, not bad.
Correct. You don't have to do Stoinis. Stoinis, and by the way, I believe Stoinis will be man of the series. I'm telling you, he had the best BBL. Nobody is looking at the figures. This guy was put to the top of the order in Australia BBL, and he made 700 plus runs in 17 matches. He also got a few wickets, catches. He's at the top of his game. They didn't play him properly in the Australian England series by putting him in the middle order. He has to go to the top. I'm going to talk to Ricky Ponting once I'm done with you. I'm doing a podcast with him where I advise him basically. I'm on the board of Delhi Capital.
He played really well. Also, Ambati Raidu, like every time I really like this
unsung hero.
Unsung hero. Like,
Kab se.
Like there was this entire controversy of him being not selected for World Cup, but this man keeps coming back. And he's one of the classic players who like let the bat do the talking.
They wanted a number 5. They wanted between 4 and 5. He won't show up that spot. The point is, depending on where Virat batted or where Dhoni batted. But we had one batting spot which was not sure. If it was not sure, both Shreyas Iyer and Ambati Raidu should have been on that plane and should have been in that 15. Anyway, now that's done and gone. But Ambati Raidu has got a bad deal. But when you look at cricket or football also, I mean, they can only play so many people. So I guess somebody will get a bad deal. But he's got a bad deal all his life. And one day when we have more time, we'll discuss only cricket. But for now, before we let you go and start the AMAs beta, tell me very quickly what is next. Because during lockdown, you've been doing whatever you can. But what is the big plan now?
So during lockdown, there's been a lot of random things on YouTube, like on our channel, on different people's channel. Rahul and I have been doing a lot of things. Bisway and I have been doing a podcast. But the next big thing I have to say is coming in 2 days on Hotstar. On 23rd, there's a web series called Parivar, which is releasing. The trailer is already out and I'm the narrator in the trailer. So I feel good like listening to my own voice on TV and on phone and everywhere else. And it has a stellar star cast. It has Gajraj Rao, Vijay Raj, Yashpal Sharma.
Gajraj Rao actually listens to our podcast. I got feedback that while going for his walk, because he's very sleepy at that time, he likes to listen to our podcast because it irritates him enough. And then he wakes up. Sorry.
Ranveer Shori.
Ranveer Shori is in the news for all kinds of things now. He's now the leftist center of Bollywood, is he?
So this ensemble starcast, and I was working with them, it was surreal, Cyrus. Just to look at the starcast and your name in it. Like I've seen Yashpal Sharma in Lagan, which came in when I was in school. And then Ranveer Shori, like we saw Khosla in our engineering hostel, and and now to share screen space with them, that is huge. Like I have a decent part, like not the lead, but it's just too surreal. And it's coming on Hotstar, so I can't wait to watch.
Did you take selfies with all of them?
All of them.
Did any of them take with you? Hey boss, I like your YouTube channel. Anybody say that?
Only Gajraj sir did.
Gajraj follows all of us. Something is wrong with Gajraj. You have to crack this. Such a talented guy. Why is he following many comedians?
It's very humbling.
Like scary.
He calls and he says, I felt like talking to you, some advice. And I'm like, sir, is it? Are you like, why? How?
Was he being sarcastic or really?
No, he really listens to me. And I'm like, sir, this is very like confusing plus humbling. Like what?
That's pretty cool. He had a couple of really big roles, breakthrough roles last year. If I remember correctly. Anyway, wow, fantastic. How's Ranveer Shori? I don't really know him. I remember them at Channel V because they were our competition. But I've never really met him. I think they say he can outdrink me, but I don't know if that's true. No, I don't drink, so I can never prove it. But I'll tell you one thing. Of the music channels, I was the number 1 drinker. Number 1. Kumar, number 1, bro. Number 1.
But why you
beaten heavyweight champion? Because at 40-something, it doesn't look so good as at 20-something. At 20-something, people say, oh, how charming the guy is. He's so funny. And at 40-something, Uncle aa gaya, man, should run. It's like that. That's the difference.
Fair.
All bloody perspective. Listen, it's been lovely talking to you. And I hope to get you, I think we'll do a Lanso with you immediately as well. So we'll get you to talk about sports and cricket. But for now, it's time for the AMA. But before that, let's go into a break.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Intel, for supporting us. First, right off the bat, want to congratulate Ashton Doctor on celebrating the 300th episode of The Habit Coach. It's a great show. If you haven't been listening to it, listen to it now. And if you listen to it, you can almost go for an entire year with an episode a day. It's really fun. Do definitely check that out. We had Siddharth Roy Kapoor on Gauri Devi Dayal's This Round's on Me. Great conversation over there. Arjun Koladi, the head of sales for Spotify in India, was on Advertising is Dead. Do check that out. Really fun show. Sonali Gupta has been on the network a number of times, was on Uncle Please Sit this week, and she had a great conversation with Joel and Tushar. On Cyrus Says, we had Samit Basu, the author, fantasy author, one of my favorites. Definitely do check that out. It was Utsav Memorial Week this week on the IVM network. He was on Cyrus Says Cock and Bull on Thursday. He was on Litnama and, of course, his own podcast, Postcards from Nowhere. Do check that out. And one last note before we go. IVM Likes is back, and we've been doing a bunch of interesting conversations about different pop culture things that you might want to check out during the pandemic. Do give it a listen. I'm sure you'll enjoy that. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored, I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me.
Kumar, you have no idea. Do I call you Kumar or Varun? It's all confusing when you have two first names.
Anything. Like, some people call me KV, some Varun, some Kumar. I respond to all of them.
But as a good friend from Noida, can't I just say Bencho? Wouldn't that be better? Wouldn't that make us closer? Why can't people just get on with it? Achha, so we've got some 8 million followers on this podcast, and we get some 5 million emails every 15 minutes. But my good friend Silvery stroke Antariksh, who's sitting there, who looks like he's just liberated one northern state of India.
There's a statue somewhere being built.
Yes. Or being broken, depending on who's in power.
As we speak. Yeah.
He's got the emails. Come on, bro. AMA.
Yeah. All right. The first question comes in from Nishi Kapoor. I had to write them down because I'm using my phone right now and my laptop is making too much noise. So these are not, I didn't write them myself. Okay. These are
become like my Parivar. Speaking of Parivar, which is on Hotstar, right? On 23rd. Starring Kumar Varun.
Free.
And free. Hey, better keep free, yaar. We're suffering. Huh.
Yeah. Okay, this one comes in from Nishi Kapoor. She says, hi, Cyrus and guest. I'm 19 years old. I have been listening to Cyrus since the beginning and can't imagine my life without it. I love the type of questions that people send in, especially asking about life advice related questions. So I'm going to do the same, hoping other listeners are like me as well. So here goes.
This is like Gajraj Rao, sorry, little bit like that, in the sense that she's being nice, but in a way, it's like, she can't believe that people would call us up. It's nice. It's a nice touch. Go on.
She asks, Cyrus, what is the reason that most people are not able to realize their dreams? Like a dream job or a dream business venture or following their passion in life. Why do most people not follow through even in today's world where it is more socially acceptable to have offbeat careers? Do you think it's just because of financial needs or is it also a lack of ambition or not wanting to work hard? What do you guys think?
See, I think this is right up his alley. Did you do this because you know his life story?
No, I don't. I just happen to be one of the questions.
It's perfect. It's his question. I mean, when they make his statue, wherever Kumar Varun goes, this question will go with him because he's the guy who actually, what he's done will answer this question, but people think it's an accident. I just accidentally got into all this, so that's another story. So, Kumar, can you answer this question? I mean, you have it throughout the podcast, but in a nutshell.
Yeah. I think people just need to recalibrate and their dreams as they go. Like when you dream of becoming something, after every year, just okay, this can also be a dream. And then you'll feel like you realize your dream.
So materialistic baat hai. I'm saying, what about if you look at it from point of view of frustration? I talk to elderly people. When I meet people, now I'm an elderly person myself, they would also tell me, Beta, I was very funny when I was young. Beta, I was also good at acting. Beta, I was also good at jokes, singing, yevo. And you can see that maybe out of 30,000 of them, maybe 5 or 6 were actually genuinely talented but didn't do it. So I'm just saying that a lot of people spend, that frustration comes out in your life. You take it out on your wife, your kids, your family. You're just an unhappy person. You drink too much because you're good at engineering, you're good at business, but your heart is not in it. So I think her point is also that. Now, but how do you empower people to make these decisions? How do you know? Yeah. You've done it, but is there a formula, a process?
I guess have friends who are ready to lend you money whenever you need it.
Yeah.
Now, I joke about that, but I tell you that particular evening, there must have made a difference in his life. If we do his biopic, that would be a big moment because when he got that feeling, am I right? for about 24 hours at least you say, fuck this, I can do this.
Yeah. But
everybody won't have that.
Yeah, but I can't think of a formula, Cyrus, because it's weird. It's like when you talk about dreams and success and everything, it's so very... there's no set rule. Like everyone has their own story of how things fall.
And like I told you, Kumar, we can't take the zimmedari on our heads of telling her and her friends or whoever she wants to talk to, ki, boss, take a chance. Life, you'll only live once.
You
guy has no money.
You can't. And that's why it feels weird when people expect you to do that. But you're like, no, you have your own story, your own context.
Yeah, you have to tell your story. And that's why it's good you tell them how scared you are, the anxieties, the fears, all that. Because 100%. That's the truth. It all sounds in one sentence, you're summing up something which took years to happen. In one sentence, Kumar Varun, in one sentence I write on paper, Kumar Varun went from corporate to comedy. Okay, and now it sounds great. But that one sentence encompasses all the emotions, all the pain, all the fears of his friends, supporters, encouragement, all that.
I think there's a quote, I think by Messi or someone, who says it took 17 years of work to become an overnight success. Wow. Because people always look at your overnight
success. Does it sound like Messi? Are you sure this is not Rumi or Firdausi or something? Where does Messi come up with this?
They just attribute it to people.
I think Messi's quote was, I did file my tax returns. I thought that was the famous quote.
I am better. That was his quote.
Yeah. I'm better than Ronaldo.
So better than Ronaldo.
So what if he has 100 goals for country? What the hell is that? That means nothing. So we've again digressed from the question. This lovely girl, Nishi Kapoor, asked us, and we wasted it on I don't know what. We reached football at the end. But I think there's no answer. To any question anyway, there's no answer, I presume. But all we can say is this is his life and Kumar has lived it like that. And luckily for him, it went in the right direction. So what would have happened if you fucked up after 1 year? What if you just go and get a gig? What would happen then? 1 saal ke baad.
Would have gone, I don't...
Would you have called Ankur and Sachin up?
Yeah. For money...
So how long can they carry you? That's all nice and emotional, but how long will they carry you? Suppose it's just not working, you're just not good at it. Okay, like I tell my friend Kunal, Vijayakar.
He's right behind you, I think.
No. I'm in my office, far away. Yeah, in the picture, Yeah,
in the picture only, I meant. That was the first thing I noticed when the call started.
Oh my God, yeah. The only face that can be noticed is double the size of other faces. Yeah. And we are all fat. Yeah.
No, we saw him in Mahindra once, like when we were working in Mahindra. Kunal Vijayakar had come for a meeting. And everyone used to compare me with him in the sense that look-wise or whatever. And then when Rahul and I started, there were some people who used to be like, "Tum log aisa Cyrus Kunal type banega life mein." Like people used to give us that compliment in Mahindra. And but then Kunal Vijayakar once came to Mahindra and everyone was like, "Oh, tera wo aa gaya, tera Kunal hai, jaake dekh."
To 20 saal baad.
Exactly that happened. And we were all aisa peeping and like, "Oh, ye wahi. And I used to find similarity. Like he does a food show and I was like, "मैं भी बहुत खाता हूँ, मैं भी food के बारे में article लिखूंगा." And like Rahul is the funnier one maybe, so वो Cyrus बनेगा, वो Bombay से है, like whatever. We used to have these discussions back in the day.
So we are very different because I'm extroverted and he's introverted. You all are both extroverted.
Yeah.
To some degree. Yeah. So
Sorry,
in public he doesn't talk. It's great. He's the wife I should have had. He just keeps quiet after some time. My wife, you want to hear my story, boss? Want to hear my pain? Nishi Kapoor, you want to hear my pain?
Man, I have a wife-related question also.
बोलो. तो मेरे पास wife है. इनके पास wife नहीं है.
Next one comes in from Siddhant Bhagnani. Says, "Hey Cyrus and guest, hope my question makes it on. I have a classic vintage car that I have."
Just for that, it goes on, no? Just for that, just to piss him off.
He says, "I have a classic vintage car that I have restored with a lot of love. Wow. I've spent countless hours at the workshop getting the body and engine and other internals just right. My wife, however, doesn't understand my love for the car. She always has this irritated expression whenever I would come back from the workshop or back from buying parts for the car. I know as a Parsi, Cyrus, you have a kind of genetic attraction to vintage cars."
For cars to women. Come on, say it. अरे मैं तेरी accelerator दबाऊंगा. बोलो.
How do I explain to my wife that I'm not cheating on her physically or emotionally with my car? Hope the guest can give some advice on this as well.
I don't know why women or men in relationships fear passion for non-people. When you have passion for non-people, you're in the safest relationship. Like, for example, if you like dancing and your partner, is irritated because you're always watching dance shows and you want to dance and all that. But that's great because that's where you're channeling your passion. we're not looking for another partner, which is what can happen. So I would say she should be very happy. Lalu Prasad Yadav once told me...
No, I think the problem is if you're watching dance, you might be gay. That's the problem that your wife might have.
Yeah, in this climate to say something like that, knowing that me and Kumar Varun, he keeps 2 male names in his name, looking for love. Main Kumar, kab aayega Varun? There's a soch there. There's a proper thought.
Yeah. You're saying about Lalu Yadav?
No, so he actually, we went to, I think I've said this before, my stories are getting repetitive, but we actually got to talk to him, the 2009 general election, the one before that, when he was still in power. Went to Patna, camped there for 2 days. They finally gave us the thing with MTV and mics and all that. And he was very nice. Every day, lassi pilao, while we waited in the side. And people, came to meet him looking for seats and tickets. Anyway, finally gave the thing. First question he asked, he said, Matav kya hai? And then somebody said, Matav nahi, MTV hai, sir. Alag shabd hai. And this is what music was. So then he sang for 5 minutes and we couldn't cut because he's the chief minister. So we all had to clap. His chamchas are clapping. The tape is running out. The cameraman is looking at me. I said, I'm not going to tell Lalu Prasad. Now let's talk. He sang as much as he wanted to sing. But then while talking, as he opened up, and he spoke in English, and decent English, he was very open. And so I took a little liberty after some time and I asked him one question. Raghu was a producer before he became famous on Roadies. And I just asked him one question. I said, bhais ke bare mein, people keep mentioning the Lalu Prasad and the buffaloes and the fodder scam was going on in the background. So he said, isme kya hai? After many years of marriage, I spend more time under the buffalo than under the pipe. So the rustic philosophy, but it was spot on, in a sense. Because what he was trying to say is basically I spend more time with, he didn't mean it in a sexual way. I spend more time with the buffalo than I do. So it's a good thing, I think. If you have interest in something and you spend more time with it, there's no question of cheating on your spouse because you're diverted that way. Because who can live with the same person for the rest of their life? It's unnatural, boss. Unhealthy. Look at Big Boss. It's not worked. It's never worked. Look at the political parties. They can't get along. There's no point to it. So I just want to tell anyone before getting married, call me and talk to me for 2 minutes. Yeah. I'll not dissuade them. I'll just tell them that this is the pro and con in my book. So the institution is challenged. Silvery, you be careful. Right now, your girlfriend is in Bali, and that's where love should be. She's in Bali, you're in Powai. Lovely. It works forever. But once you're not together, there'll be a strain, there'll be pain, anguish, there'll be all kinds of problems. And once you start leaking onto the sheets with age, you see, there's certain nocturnal emissions that come not in a good way. You see, those are huge challenges. And your wife notices that. It's the beginning of the end. Today, she did notice that. I had 4 particular emissions. You want to know the colors? I guess you don't want to know anything more. Okay. Do we have one more or are we done?
Yeah, we have one more.
Okay.
This is cricket related. He says, Ashwin Poonawala is the person. He asks, hey Cyrus, Silvery and guest. Cyrus, absolutely love the podcast. Thanks so much for doing it. I know this question might be a little late, but when Dhoni retired, what were the 2 or 3 moments from his career that you immediately thought about / went back and watched?
Bro, we discussed that in detail on a podcast, remember? I always remember that 148, the beginning for me. When his coming onto the stage, this boy from Ranchi who loved dogs and bikes, everything about him I liked, with his long hair. It reminded me more like a cricketer from the 70s, young Imran Khan or something, that flamboyance, just that stature, that poise. That was the first and strongest impression. Then later on, there are many moments winning the World Cup. There's so many moments and so many matches that he's won that you can go on and on about it. But then I got to personally interact with him, so all those stay in my head. The interviews I've done and the meetings and all that. But yeah, for me, this is a once-in-a-generation cricketer. It was fantastic. And he turned Indian cricket around. And now everybody is struggling to become famous cricketers from Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore. And the more and more are going to come from the B towns. You can see, and that's the effect of the MSD effect, which I think is great for cricket, honestly. What do you think, Kumar?
100%. We also did a thing like a tribute on our channel. And we discussed very similar. I discussed about, apart from his cricketing impact on the nation, there has been a non-cricketing impact as well of the story of this person from, Indian cricket. Okay, 60s, 70s, it was mostly about Bombay, and then it became about Bangalore for a while.
Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, little bit Chennai.
Hyderabad, a little bit Chennai. So it was centered in these, maybe a bit of Chandigarh and maybe Baroda. That's it. Yeah. That's it. No one expected someone coming out from Jharkhand and not just becoming a great cricketer, becoming the captain of the country.
Becoming Indian cricket.
Won 2 World Cups. What is happening? He's
won 2 World Cups and has won more games off his bat than even Michael Bevan, if I remember correctly. Off his bat. in chases, which we forget now because it's been a struggle the last 2 years. But literally, Dhoni would always calculate and bring the game back from where you think it's gone from a mathematical point of view. 9 for over, no chance. He's only taking singles. And then Achanak 22 of that over and suddenly the balance is restored. You have a fantastic mind, yeah?
Like Cyrus said, once in a generation cricketer for not just cricketing reasons, but his impact on the country, and generations of people will look up to him. It's almost similar to Kapil in the 80s, where people were like, this is a guy from like small town who can't speak English. He's not a proper like a Gavaskar Vishwanath kind of a person, and then he leads India to the World Cup. Very similar story.
Leading with the heart, like that emotional sort of flavor in the sportsman, where you just follow the guy. I think Wasim Akram had that for Pakistan as well. But let's not get there because the ties are not good. We should only talk about India. We should not take a chance. Why do that? Sport should not bring us together. We should continue hating everyone. Hate. And make sure you win the IPL. Hate the other 7 teams, even though we all hate some foreigners per franchise. Sorry. Okay. Cool, guys. This has been a wonderful lesson in how not to conduct a podcast, but with a very interesting guest. Who I love having these guys on our show. No, not that you're a comedian. I mean the fact that people who change their lives, sort of change take the chance. End of the day, I mean that shows you've got the size of, your scrotum sac has those very big things inside. Which I can't say that because there's a SAP guideline where we can't use words. Yeah. But it takes, I think, cojones, they say in some other language, and not all of us have that. So. Kudos to you, well done. And we'll see Mr. Kumar Varun soon, as well as Silvery, on this show called Cyrus Says, which is going nowhere. God bless us.
Thank you, Cyrus.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter, on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
Have you ever wondered how successful people do their thing? How do they navigate the challenges they often face? Are you wondering about the future of restaurants, film, education, technology, and everything else in between? Hi, I'm Gauri Devidayal, best known for being one of the brains behind The Table, an award-winning restaurant in Bombay. One thing my life as a restaurateur has given me is the opportunity to meet with some truly inspiring people. Most often just by chatting with strangers at the community table. And that's what this podcast is about. It's about learning the new dimensions of business and understanding how different people swim this sea. It's an opportunity for me to pick their brains and ask them all the questions on my mind, whether it's about learning from their past experiences or talking about future trends. Through their journeys, stories, and insights, I hope you too, like me, will come away inspired and energized. So come, join me every Wednesday with your favorite drink because this round is on me.
Hey everybody, we have a brand new podcast series by Bloomberg Quint called BQ Conversations, which covers a range of topics like business strategies, latest trends in technology such as cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, and also personal finance. Episodes are out on the IVM Podcast app or wherever you listen to podcasts.